Welcome, everyone, to How to Start a Food and Beverage Business, hosted by the City of Mississauga's Mississauga Business Enterprise Center. I'm Laura Dunkley, the Digital Marketing Consultant at MBEC, and I will be co-presenting today with Sue Lovelace, who is our Small Business Consultant. A little bit about MBEC. We are part of the City of Mississauga's Economic Development Office, and we are here to support you, the small business and entrepreneurs. And we are that central source. If you have questions, you need information, guidance, this is the place to find the answers. If we don't have the answers, we're going to direct them to people that will know or the right place to look. Where you can find out more about us is mississauga.ca/MBEC. And now, without further ado, Susan Lovelace, our small business consultant, joins me today, and she's going to take you through some resources and all those things. And why Susan Lovelace is so particularly important for us today is she has over 24 years of experience in the restaurant and food business. So on top of her providing information, she's going to give you some insightful information about her experience within this industry. And she's been consulting after leaving that business with small businesses for many years. So Susan, her contact information is here, as well as she encourages you to join her on LinkedIn as well. So let's pass this over to Sue.
I'm very excited about it because it's the business that I was in. As she said, I have 24 years experience as a business owner, but before that, I had 15 years working in restaurants, waitressing, front of house, back of house. I'm actually excited about this. It was a lot of fun. I had most of the information from my experience, but I also did a lot of research online, and I think you're really going to enjoy this presentation. So the first thing I'm going to start with is a test that you can actually take. It is available on the BDC website because, as everyone is aware, every entrepreneur has weaknesses and strengths, and I think the most important thing is to find out what those are. For anyone who has weaknesses, no problem. There's coaching out there. MBEC's available to help you. So it's, I think it's about 54 questions. The link, we're actually going to be sending out, I believe, a one-pager with some links if they're not in the chat that will be available to you. So I encourage you to take the test and just find out, what are your strengths and weaknesses. So being your own boss, as all of you are aware, is very rewarding. And I must say, it was one of the things that I wanted to do probably from the age of 5. I was always looking, running little businesses on the side. My mother was actually quite surprised the fact that I ran a little summer camp when I was 8. I collected pop bottles and returned them to the store. I went door to door. I was always organizing things and coordinating little events. I guess it's because I had that entrepreneurial spirit. And I didn't mind taking risk. I was often looking for a new challenge. So as you're probably aware, the challenges and risk in the hospitality space are the greatest, and they were before COVID. So of course, in the COVID world, everything has changed, as you're well aware, but I still think there's opportunities. So if you are thinking of starting a food business, it's important to understand that you may have to wear a lot of hats. It was actually kind of interesting that when I bought my Domino's, I did the bookkeeping. That was a mistake. I was the marketing manager. I was the sales rep, customer service, IT support, dishwasher, janitor. I did it all. And that's what you'll find. And in most cases, if you are planning to run a business, you really need to be a good multitasker. It is important to ensure that you identify and evaluate your skills. And then if you don't have the skills necessary, one other thing you can do is delegate. So that's why I hired a bookkeeper because I decided that bookkeeping wasn't my thing. I also got my bookkeeper to organize my office because my organizational skills were a little weak. So again, nothing wrong with identifying your weaknesses. Just take the time to help improve or hire someone to help you. So as I mentioned, please take the time to complete that BDC test and find out some interesting facts about yourself. So motivation is so important. One of the things that I found is every day I would get up and go into my store. I didn't have anybody patting me on the back and saying, good job, because you're the business owner. I guess what I received was kudos from customers telling me, wow, really enjoyed that pizza last night and thanks so much. So that kind of kept me going. Also looking at the sales increasing on a regular basis was another thing. I actually bought a store that was bankrupt, so very low sales, and it was a real challenge to take on a business that was currently open. But anyway, in the restaurant business, I would like to mention, and food business, because everyone here is food business. So that could be food truck, food processing, restaurants, whatever it is. In most cases, it's going to require long hours, weekends and nights. I grew up in the hospitality world. I was a waitress from age 15, and my parents owned a motel up north. So my first job was actually working at a roadside restaurant. I really enjoyed the work, especially the tips. I wasn't a morning person, so I love working nights. So it's funny how probably from the time I was in my early 20s, I knew I wanted to be in the restaurant business. It was something I really enjoyed. The only drawback, I suppose, was that I didn't mind working nights and weekends. The problem was finding reliable staff due to the fact that most people don't like working when other people are off. It's not a 9-to-5 job, and I would suggest that if that's what you're looking for, you choose a different career. Entrepreneurs are powerful people, and just think about an entrepreneur that you know, that they tend to be optimistic, they face challenges, actually they enjoy challenges, they tend to be self-sufficient, they work very well under pressure, and they actually find that when they're given a pressure situation, it's like an opportunity to excel. And I mean, I was often thrown a lot of different challenges in my business, and it was funny how I seemed to react pretty quickly in those situations and found a way to make it work. I'll give you my pizza disaster story because it's one of the ones that I will never forget. It was a very long time ago. It was when I was first starting out, and I was very eager to get business wherever I could. So I visited all the local high schools and told them I'd give them 10 free pizzas if they would order pizza from me. So it was a big order. It was 100 pizzas, really exciting. Got all my staff in, delivered the pizzas, met the principal at the door, and the principal said, "Sue, it's tomorrow." And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with all these pizzas? And of course, I was very upset because that was a lot of money. So I decided, you know what? I have to turn this around and make this a good thing, make me feel good about it. So I called up the local food bank and I delivered these 100 pizzas, and they were thrilled. And I went back to the store and I really felt good. But I also felt, I don't want this to ever happen again. And then about a minute later, the phone rang and another school was calling, asking me where their 85 pizzas were. So that's what happened. We kind of mixed up the orders. And again, I can't tell you how I felt. It was like one of the worst days in my pizza business. So we made the pizzas up. We delivered them about an hour and a half later. The school was furious. They didn't order from me for 6 months. I gave them the whole order free. I did get them back 6 months later. But again, learning from your mistakes, I guess, would be what I would like you to learn from that little circumstance. But again, personality is extremely important. Having support, and every business owner has to have a support system. And I was extremely lucky. But also having the right financing in place. I could tell you from all the people I've seen, and I've been a business consultant for 15 years, the number one reason that businesses fail is they do not have the right financing in place. So a lot of times people borrow as much as they can, and then when the business doesn't flourish like they think it's going to, they run out of cash. So please make sure you've got the right financing in place, and you need to have a contingency fund. You can't borrow exactly what you need or exactly the most you can and then not have extra money available, because the business is very risky, and sales can go up and down. And of course, with COVID, it's a really, really different situation right now. So supportive family and friends, as I mentioned, I was very lucky. Friends would babysit my children for free if I gave them pizza for dinner. Worked out really well. My in-laws took my grandkids every weekend because they didn't want their grandchildren living in a pizza store. So I was really lucky that way because I worked 14-hour shifts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So it was crazy, and it was a big sacrifice. Fluctuations in income were the norm. I mean, most of us, or I am, and now used to getting a paycheck. Well, when you're in, and Laura will tell you because she was in business as well, you don't get a paycheck if you haven't made any money. And if you have to pay your staff first because they won't come back. And you also have to pay your suppliers first. So you're kind of the last person to get paid. So you have to kind of get used to that. And for me, the first 6 months, the business didn't even break even. So it was a little scary for a while. So getting used to that, and as I mentioned, having a little contingency fund in place just in case things don't go as planned. You have to be dedicated to achieving a long-term goal as well as short-term goals. In my case, my short-term goal, or maybe long-term, would be that I didn't want to work in the business forever. Like I still wanted to be there, but I didn't want to work till 3 and 4 in the morning. And that's difficult when you're raising children and you have to get them to school on time. So that was my initial goal. And that was after about 5 years because I worked in the business solidly for 5 years. And then I kind of walked away. I'd always come in on Friday nights because it was busy, Fridays, Saturdays, but I would only work over dinner hour. And I still did all the marketing and took care of getting the books and the bookkeeping ready for my bookkeeper, and the paychecks, those kind of things. But I actually could then work full time, and that's what I did. I started working full time. At that time, it was at a college. I was teaching sales and entrepreneurship. So that was something I really enjoyed as well. I guess the other thing is you have to be willing to overcome rejection and face challenges. It was often frustrating for me when I would make my sales calls to schools and other organizations to try and get their catering business, and they would turn me down. I was like, I had a great product, and, it was really frustrating, but really, you just can't give up. And I actually found a story which was pretty interesting, and I don't know if any of you knew this, but the co-founder of Second Cup was once a drunk. He was a homeless panhandler, and this was before he actually founded the coffee retailer and found a partner. So when he started out looking for work, he had no cell phone, no address, and the top of his resume said panhandler. But he knocked on doors until somebody said, you know what, you'd make a good salesman. So that was the beginning. And it's a wonderful story. He does motivational talks all over the world. So you can look that up online if you'd want to read his story. It's really, really interesting to see how he turned his life around. Mentors are key. Find someone in the business who can provide you with support and guidance. I was really lucky because when you're part of a franchise system, you have all the franchisees that you can call up and, ask them how they're doing and, bounce ideas off of them. And I did this on a regular basis. We actually had meetings once a month in Ontario to go over our marketing strategies. And also the franchisor was a big support as well. So again, whatever business you're in, whatever system you're in, you need to tap into the system and find people. And later on, I will talk about about networking and how you can find mentors because they're vital to any business. And there's also us, MBEC. MBEC offers courses and training. Right now, all our webinars are free. Since COVID-19 started early March, all our webinars are free, and they will stay free for now. We do have online courses. They are available at a nominal fee. And there's also lynda.com, which I'm going to talk about a little later. And just a few more things I wanted to mention. I think probably the best training is actually working in the culinary field, in the food business that you plan to start. And before COVID, I don't think you would ever have a problem finding a job in the restaurant business, although now I think there's also a lot of opportunities as well. But for me, I wanted to work in the business. I wanted to get to know it as well as I could. I wanted to make mistakes with other people's money. It was actually funny because I ran a restaurant, and I was the manager, general manager, and I ran all the events. And every now and then one would flop. And we normally didn't lose money, but we didn't make much. And I'd always say to myself, okay, now what went wrong? And I'd sort of do a critique of the event and write down, the things I could have done better. So just remember, working in the field, it's an opportunity to get some really good education, also be paid for training. So I think it's a good idea. So if you're here today, you want to start some sort of food business, I did look over some of the questions, and I will address a few of those. But it looks like the majority of you haven't actually started, and some of you are in the startup phase, maybe in the first 6 months. So I'm just going to go over a few things here. So each year, close to 100,000 businesses open every day, and there are over not every day, 100,000 new businesses are started in Canada every year. There are over 3 million food services and drinking places in Canada currently operating, and over 1 million in Ontario, so you're in good company. And I found some really interesting statistics, and some of them surprised me. So these are statistics for Canada. So only 36% of people take their lunch to work every day. I would be one of them. Laura's one of them sometimes. 46% of people eat meat every day. I found that a little surprising. 15% eat organic food only. 12% have food allergies. I think that's a lot higher than it was a few years back. And this was the most interesting for me. 73% prefer to cook Italian food at home. And the most popular foods for tourists coming to Canada, you're probably going to recognize a lot of these, are poutine, butter tarts, pea meal bacon, lobster rolls, Montreal-style smoked meat, New York bagels. Oh, no, wait. Well, I guess Montreal bagels. There's also New York. Beaver tails, Nanaimo bars, and Caesars. And that's not the salad.
So, Sue, where did you get that research? Will you be able to share the source for that, the link?
I will have to go online. I just Googled it. It was a tourist site, coming to Canada, foods you have to eat, or foods that are most popular.
Okay,
so I can look that up and find it for you. But isn't that interesting? I thought it was. Okay, I think that was everything there. So yeah, those are just some interesting statistics. And just so you know, small business is big in Canada. It accounts for close to 50% of all the jobs created. So.
Okay, Sue, before you get going, there are a couple, and I know some of the questions you're going to cover, and I'll bring them forward a little later. But one I'm curious about is pet food considered food business?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I did look up some stats for her where she needs to go. Yep, you're feeding a dog. Most people, animals are like people's children. So, it's they're almost, I think, almost as strict as or the same. But I did find a link for that I can share with you, Laura, and you can send it out on that
email.
Pager. Yep.
Okay, and I'm going to just ask, and just tell me if you're going to cover this later. Someone is interested in the food truck business. I'm assuming you're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, I'll talk about the food truck business as well.
And the frozen food business, specifically looking for a broker or distribution company. Is there?
That might be a question to email me, because it's not a sentence. I can answer that. Yeah, that's the thing too. If there's anything here, like the food business is huge. There's so many different types of businesses. For anyone here, if I haven't addressed or answered your questions, please email me. I'd be happy to just arrange a 5 or 10 minute phone call to go over your questions, especially for anybody importing. I'm going to touch on it, but we only have an hour, so can't get through it. But yeah, please feel free to email me.
And I'm dropping that in the chat for anyone who wants your email address.
Perfect. So MBEC offers a general 10 steps model for anyone starting a business. As you can see, this is step number 1. I'm going to use the same format today, but I'm going to concentrate on the food industry. If you do decide to start a new food business, you'll need to spend some time developing your business idea. And one of the greatest advantages of being an entrepreneur is being able to do something that you're interested in and that you're passionate about. Unfortunately, passion doesn't always translate into profits. So as I mentioned earlier, I worked in the restaurant business for about 15 years before I started my own. I learned a great deal. The one thing that worked out really well for me is when I became pregnant with my first child, I was working in a restaurant and they didn't want me working on the floor. So they stuck me downstairs as the bookkeeper. And it was actually funny because that was where I learned like the inner workings of how everything works. And I learned about payroll. And, you know, it was a really interesting experience. So it was funny how I was doing that. And then in another restaurant, I asked if I could work in the kitchen for a few months because I just wanted to see what that was like. So it was kind of interesting how, for me, working front of house, back of house, managing the operations, I was able to really understand how the restaurant business worked and obviously helped me become successful in my own business. So step 1, choosing the right idea. Now, when our office was actually open and we weren't just working virtual, Laura and I would get people coming in every day asking us, you know, what do you think? You think this is a good idea? And we would always say the same thing. It really doesn't matter what we think. You need to do the research and see if there's a demand for your product and whether people are willing to buy it, whether the market is saturated. So we're going to talk a little bit about market research a little later. But again, all businesses start with an idea, whether it's a good idea or not, that's going to be based on your research. And sometimes you'll do that research and you'll find out it's not the right business to get into. It happens all the time. I've had people, you know, work on something for 6 months, write an amazing business plan, go in for financing, and then realize, you know what, I'm not willing to take this risk. Because most of the time when you're applying for financing, pretty much all the time, especially if it's in the food business, you're going to have to put up equity, which is your house. So if you are, you know, convinced that this idea of yours is going to be successful, you know, maybe you're willing to do that. But some people say, no, I don't think I'm ready. So again, you need to have a clear idea of what that business is going to be before you begin to operate it. So you need to ask yourself 4 questions. So is the product or service original? Is there anyone else offering the same product or service in your target market? Some of you here might be just doing the research on a food business, and that's great. That's an excellent idea. Do the research first before you jump ahead. The second question is, are there limitations? Now, considering that we are in the time of COVID, no one would have predicted the impact that this has had on the business, especially anyone in the food industry. I'm sure many of you have gone to a restaurant recently and noticed all these protocols they have in place. They've reduced the number of people that can actually be in a restaurant. So it's been very difficult. And I think most of the businesses that have done well were restaurants that already had an online presence before COVID-19, or were able to, quickly offer a delivery model because they already had it set up. So it just goes to show that entrepreneurs have to be ready to change quickly if necessary. So think about the restaurant business now. What happened initially was they were closed completely. Only takeout was available. And even for takeout, there were, extreme restrictions. And then patios opened up. And then there were all these restrictions on patios and how many they could sit there. And now there's all the social distancing in restaurants. And what I've found is a lot of restaurants aren't even opening. They're keeping their patios open. Our Swiss Chalet is still, the patio's not open, the restaurant's not open. They're only doing takeout. So again, I guess it's their choice. I guess it's whatever makes them feel safe, because they do have to protect their customers and their staff. Number 2 is market research. Extremely important. And I believe Laura will be sharing the information, but we have amazing links on our website. You can just go to mississauga.ca/MBEC. The resources on there are amazing. There's also databases on the City of Mississauga website and demographics that you are welcome to. Everything is free of charge. Also, Stats Canada is another really good place to find some research. So market, sorry?
No, I was going to say that I'll drop that in the link to the steps to starting a business. So there's a whole bunch of resources that are related to each of these steps that Sue's talking about. And you can go to this link and find out specifically the resources in each step.
Perfect. So market research can help you develop a marketing plan and prepare your business to sell your product or service. I gotta stop going so fast. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. It's very sensitive. Successful businesses have extensive knowledge of their customers and their competitors. So for me, when I started my pizza business, when I started in the pizza business, I started as a manager in training, and with a goal in mind that I would have a store within a year. I believe it was about a year and a half. So I did achieve my goal, but I did a lot of market research first. So I looked at the pizza place that was available. It was for sale. It was unsuccessful. It was bankrupt and barely opened when I took over. I grabbed a local phone book and looked at all the pizza places and visited every one. I actually ordered from them to see how quickly the pizzas would come to my door. I assessed the image. I grabbed their menus to see what prices they were charging, because my pizza place wasn't doing very well. And I thought, well, maybe this just isn't a pizza town, because I've worked in a lot of pizza places for the same franchise and found some were busy and some were not. And in some cases, the franchisee would say, yeah, there's just so much competition here. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't buying something that I couldn't build. But from what I could see, they weren't doing too many things different other than maybe their product was a little better and their image and their service. So these were all things that I had control over. Nobody has control over a pandemic or a recession that we're currently in. But you do have control of quality, image, selection, service, and price. So Laura, who had a bike store, had control over all those things. But you didn't have control over if people just decided to stop riding bikes. So that's the thing. I felt that my store had a falling grade, but I believed I could make it successful. And in 6 months, I became profitable. It was actually pretty funny. I was getting calls from all over the world because all the sales were posted so that everyone in the world could see, what all the stores are doing. And people were calling me up and asking me, what magic are you, what are you doing to make this store so successful? And I just kept telling people, well, I'm just doing the basics, everything that I learned. So that's really all it is. There's no magic in increasing sales. You just stick to traditional methods and you should do well. I took over a store that was existing, and I knew my target market because I'd done a lot of research. But whatever your businesses are, you really do need to find out who your customer is and provide yourself with a really good profile of what your customer looks like. Knowing and understanding your competition is extremely important. I'm not going to go over all the market research and the different types because that's something you will find on the 10 steps that is on our website. But just so you know, market research is a very, very important step in anyone who's doing research on their business. And these are some stats that I found. Not surprising to me, 93% of restaurants reported lower sales in June 2020 compared to 2019. I suspect that the other 7% were restaurants that were mostly takeout because their sales actually improved. 51% were operating at a loss and believe that it would take 12 months or longer to recover. Many have reported that workers are refusing to come back because of CERB, and I did read an article stating that Tim Hortons had to offer some of their staff $25 an hour just to get them to come back. Menu prices are being forecast to increase, and actually I believe there was a story on the Restaurant Association about having a COVID surcharge on restaurant bills because of the fact that they have to do extra sanitizing and less people in the restaurant and all these things which are raising their operations. And the greatest growth in the restaurant business currently is consumer delivery. Again, no surprise there. This I found on the restaurantcanada.org website, some really interesting statistics there. And also I encourage you to look at the Restaurant Outlook survey for specific statistics. Again, depending on the type of business, food business you're going into, they have some really interesting forecasts for the food service industry and even a chef survey. So I think you might find that interesting. So step 3 is going to be the longest step. Business licensing and permits. So it's different for every business. When you register your business, you get a master business license through Service Ontario, and this license is required in order for you to apply for municipal licensing. Most people get a little confused by this. Again, please drop me a line. I'd be happy to explain that process. Anyone in the food industry must meet certain requirements, and I must say there are a lot. These are only a few of the requirements. However, there's also some really great checklists and toolkits in here that I encourage you to look over. First thing, and probably really important, is starting with your food handler certification. All you have to do is follow the Peel Region link. At one time, they did offer these classes in class, and now everything is online. You do have to get this certification. And the second thing that I'll go over is that Canada Business Ontario has a food operators checklist. I found this really amazing. It's for restaurants or the catering business. It just gives you the steps. And then there's also a toolkit for business owners on inspection.gc.ca. And also, if there's anyone interested in producing a product to sell, you will need to meet certain nutritional labeling requirements. This is pretty complicated, and a lot of times people will actually hire someone to help them do this. This is not something that we do. You may have to offer someone who's in the business, who's familiar with the procedures for labeling, but you can contact Health Canada. And you will also need to contact the Canadian Standards Council if you plan on selling anything, for instance, packaged food products. And that is, they're actually located here in Mississauga. It's just scc.ca. And that's also really important for anyone who's planning to import or export any type of food product. As far as licensing and permits, we do have a wonderful little website called BizPal. It's mississauga.ca/BizPal. You just go there, you put in the type of business you plan to operate, and it will come up with all the permits and licensing that you would need. I've also included some helpful links below. I'm seeing them. These are ones that I'm going to be providing with Laura. Helpful links on food licensing. Also, the Ontario Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs has a link for starting up a business. Again, this is more for farmers and food processors, but they also help anyone in the food business. Anyone producing food must use a commercial kitchen. I've had a lot of people call me about this, a lot of emails. They want to start making food in their home and selling it. You cannot do that. You cannot operate any type of food business. You cannot store food in your house. Your house is zoned residential, not commercial, and there's all kinds of health issues if you do this, so please don't. Depending on your situation, if you're planning any renovations or installing equipment, you will need to apply for certain permits and have inspections completed by city officials. When I built my second store, all the drawings had to be approved, and they would come in and make sure I was doing everything to spec. Before I could open, I had to have the city inspect, and I had to have the fire department and the health department. Because the worst thing, you don't want to open and then get closed down because you missed something. I also found a municipal food policy network, and this was new, something I didn't know about. Brings together planners, food producers, and other food champions to share ideas and knowledge. I thought that was another interesting one. I'll provide that to Laura. And there was someone interested in producing pet food. The Pet Food Association of Canada, there is a website, so I think you'll find what you're looking for there. For anyone planning on importing, you will need to visit the Canada Border Services website for information on the rules for importing food because they are quite strict. And in summary, after all that, if licensing is required, it's typically for reasons of public health and safety. So as a business owner, you are required to know these things. You're not allowed to say, oh, I didn't know. They don't care. It's up to you to make sure that you do everything before you open your business properly. And if you're planning to run a food truck, please contact Mobile Licensing. They'll provide you with some information. For anyone else, our business licensing department at the municipality of Mississauga will also provide assistance. This is all online currently. I don't believe the desk is open at this point. You can also call 311. And no, you cannot get your home kitchen certified. You cannot operate a kitchen in your home. I've had that question answered many times. I mean, some people will apply for zoning change. It's quite expensive if you want to get commercial zoning. But yeah, your home is considered residential unless you plan on applying for that zoning change.
So first thing would be to even check your zoning, because you might even be in a residential commercial zone, right?
Yeah, you could be. I mean, I've seen it before. People, there's one in my area. It was a home. She wanted to open a bakery. They said no. So she applied for commercial zoning, paid for it, and converted her house into a commercial area. But you can't live in it. That's what people have to understand. The reason is because if you have pets or children or whatever, there would be the chance that there could be cross-contamination. And it has to be inspected, and they won't inspect a home. You won't get insurance for a home-based food business either. So there's a couple other reasons. So I know that was a lot, but as I said, there is a lot of licensing to consider with a food business. So as a restaurant owner, you need to maintain high health standards, food temperature control, and this is all explained to you when you take the course. Protecting other foods from cross-contamination and employee hygiene and hand washing, of course, more than ever is very important. You have to maintain sanitary services at all times. So again, the certification that you get through Peel Health will help you with that. Please remember, if you're not from Mississauga, every municipality is different. I'm only talking about Mississauga here. As far as taxes go, all businesses must be aware that they must pay their taxes on your business. I would suggest consulting an accountant or a bookkeeper before you open. You can also call CRA. They have a 1-800 number, or go to cra.ca. MBEC offers CRA sessions as well. We did have one recently. We'll probably have that one in another few months, possibly, but we do have the one session on September 23rd. That one is, I think, specifically for corporations, though, Laura, isn't it? At 10 a.m.
It is, correct.
Yeah. And insurance, it varies. I would choose an agent familiar with your business and your type of operation. For me, luckily, I had the right insurance because I was struck by lightning, not me personally, but my store on New Year's Eve, and it hit the compressor, and it was just like a snowball effect. Everything went down, everything was fried, and thank goodness I had insurance. I had about a $1,500 deductible, but the damage was thousands of dollars, and it was covered. So very important that you get the right kind of insurance, and the person you're dealing with knows your operation, so you'll get those kind of protections. I also had the insurance that covers you if like a car hit a telephone or hit a hydro pole and I had no power for 4 days. So I had insurance and they paid for the loss in income. So there was another thing.
Sue, is there a link to learn more about food-specific insurance, especially when it comes to liability?
There is one that I can provide if they, okay. I think they should email me though, because I need to know exactly the type of business, food business. Restaurant associations, that's another thing. Restaurants associations can help as well. They often have lower rates, insurance rates, and debit and credit card and all that kind of thing because it's group rates. And they also have benefits that you can apply for your employees. So you might want to look into that. Step 4 is determining, I'm just checking the time. Okay. Determining your business's staffing requirements. When you start working on when you start working on your cash flow forecast, you'll be able to determine how many people you need based on the volume of sales you're expecting. In the food business, it's quite difficult to staff because the business is so unpredictable. If you're looking to purchase an existing food business, you are in luck because you have historical sales records. So you can look at these and determine the highs and the lows. So I was pretty lucky when I took over my business. I had 3 years of sales that I could look at. So I could see when sales were rising and when sales went down. Obviously at Christmas time, it was a lot busier. I found that sports events, when the checks came out, all of these things made a difference. Obviously, I would staff a lot lower on a Monday night than I would on a Friday night. I'd also look at the number of catering orders I had, and I would staff appropriately. For anyone starting out, this is kind of tricky because you don't really have a history. So one of the things that I've seen with friends of mine that were in the restaurant business is they would actually have open houses before they opened so that their staff could practice on being busy. They'd have giveaways, discounted food, and they were able to get a lot of this for free because normally if you tell your suppliers, this is what I'm doing, I'm having an open house, they will give you free food or at least discounted food.
Sue, can you just move your jabber thing so away from the top of the screen?
Oh, I didn't even notice it was there. Sorry. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's like a, well, I call it an educated guess, I guess, onto what you think your sales are going to be. But normally, if you're getting into the business, you know your business. So that's one way for you to forecast. You can also look at the seasonality of your business. In retail, everyone knows it's busy. You know, for me, Mother's Day, Father's Day, as I mentioned, Christmas. Summer tended to be a little slower because more people are barbecuing, although during heat waves we get busy because people didn't feel like cooking. So again, that's really important. Labor costs can be anywhere between 18 and 25. These numbers can vary depending on the business. High-end restaurants normally, this could be different. It just depends on the type of business you're running and your other overhead costs.
So Sue, before we go on, and we have 10 minutes to the hour,
yeah, I know
we're good to stay on to finish the presentation because this is being recorded.
No more questions, maybe?
For everyone, yeah, I will leave the questions off. And for anyone who cannot stay, we will be sending out a link to the recording to all attendees following this session. It just takes a few days to get that together, but we will stay on and finish the recording.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome.
So location matters. You've probably heard it before, location. Well, it's really important in a retail food business. But how much space do you really need? As I mentioned earlier, food business cannot operate from home, so you have to decide whether you need a storefront or whether you can use a commercial kitchen. There are what we call co-kitchens. They call them ghost kitchens. They are in Mississauga, and they are inspected by the health unit. So that's where you could produce and make your food. For anyone producing product for resale, as in business to business, you might opt for an industrial site where the rent is cheaper. If the end user is a consumer, a storefront will most likely be your best option. However, I've seen a lot of food producers in industrial spots that do sell to consumers. They just offer them big discounts, put up lots of signage. They have people on the corners with banners, you know, this way to tacos or whatever. So people are doing that as well. So your location might be off the beaten track. And if it is, you will have to pay a lot more to market that to get your customers to get there. Once you do that, though, you might, you know, that would make your business a destination. You can also sign up for Shop Here. I'm going to ask Laura to just give a little talk on this.
Yeah, this is part of the Digital Main Street program and is a result of outreach to our community to support them during COVID. And the City of Mississauga is part of this program. And what it is, it's in partnership with Shopify. You have the opportunity to create an online website free of charge. There is ongoing afterwards costs for Shopify, but there is a team of digital marketing experts that will help you get this started, plus a time period where it will be free of charge to you, as well as there's digital marketing support afterwards. There is some eligibility requirements to it, but I do encourage you to check it out. The link is there. Because right now, taking your business online is really important. Even if you do have a brick and mortar location, the habits of people have changed. And I know Sue mentioned the market research. If you have done market research and trying to understand your target audience before COVID, you need to relook at this because the buying habits of people have changed. And to stay current and communicate as well as sell your products, you do need a website. So Shop Here is part of the City of Mississauga's Digital Main Street program. So please check it out.
Thanks, Laura. Step 6, I'm not really going to go over this because we do have a business planning workshop that is recorded. Obviously, a business plan is an amazing tool. It's a management tool. And for anyone considering a business, this is probably one of the most important steps because it maps out exactly what you plan to do. Okay,
Oh,
Laura?
no, go back a sec, Sue.
Okay.
I just want to let people know that bit.ly develop a business plan. It goes directly to our business plan, which is part of the 10 steps, and there's templates there. There's a lot of useful links. So please check that out too.
Thanks.
Yep.
And then this, I'm going to ask you to go over
Yes. So marketing is my world, and especially when it comes to digital and its communications. And right now, we need to know how to leverage digital technology, whether you're starting a food business or any business, to communicate with your clients. And if any of you, and I know some of you have been to my digital marketing courses to date, know that the website should be the hub of everything when you're doing search or whatever it is, or to find out everything there is about you. Please make sure when you're planning your business, whether you're starting or if you're currently an existing business, to go back and reevaluate your website because it's crucial. This is just an example. There's the shop here, Shopify, which is great for e-commerce, but there's some basic site builders. There's WordPress, there's all of these other ones that are out there. But the joy of technology is they've developed and made it very simple and be able to do drag and drop. And just to show you this, Squarespace is one of them. And I would encourage you to go and look at something like this. There's Wix, there's a bunch of other ones, but Squarespace does give you restaurant templates to get started. So don't reinvent the wheel. Yeah, they're so easy to use. I've built websites on this. If you want to click again, Sue, it will take us to, so here's some examples of different ones. And if you notice too that the photos are really rich, they're very simple and they're mobile friendly. And if you click one more time, Sue, this specific template, there's also a special I notice these guys have. Should be, there we go. It brings it out, and make sure you look at these templates, not just for, hey, it's a great way to get started, but it's also going to tell you what to have on your website, right? You want to know what's the major homepage, which is kind of it's the first impression you want to have about your story. If you're a restaurant, you want to include a menu. What are they going to get? So, and what are you offering? And during COVID, you definitely want to make sure you let people know front and center how they can do business with you. What are your hours? Do you do deliveries? The expectations of when they come to your dining, what to do. And include reservations and things like that. And also please make sure that your social media links are included in your website because you want to tell them that one website URL and they need to be able to find wherever you are on social. So make sure, even if you do use a template, that you go through everything and make sure those links are yours and not just the templates. So that's one example, something to consider when you're doing your marketing. And next slide, this is one of our clients. They're here in the City of Mississauga, and Buka Moringa has, if you want to see an example of a really well put together website, theirs is excellent. And the reason it's excellent is they have all the information across, oh, go back one, there we go. It goes across the top. And at home, the food, the visuals on it are amazing. Their food, it entices, it tells us what to expect. And there's a way to order online. So have all of that information on your website, get inspired by what they're doing. And one more link, when it comes to social media, if you click again, Sue, it shows what they have done on here. Instagram has been the social media of choice for them. That's where they focus their time. And I do encourage you, when you're putting your marketing plan together, do fewer things and do them well, rather than trying to be everywhere. So you have your website, choose those social media based on industry trends, as well as your target audience, and as well as what you are doing. So if you are in the restaurant business, Instagram's very visual. Social media, Facebook has a lot of events and more conversational. And then if you are in the wholesale, and I know we have a few here today, LinkedIn, and I did read there's quite a few of you on LinkedIn. Make sure, if that's where your audience is hanging out, you should be on LinkedIn as well. And make sure they can get from your website to your social, and then create a strategy for each of those. Photos and videos are key when it comes to developing content. I think we have one more slide when it comes to marketing.
Oops,
Sorry. Okay, there's two. That's okay. Go. Is it this one, or is
Go again?
Go back one.
Whoops.
That's it. Okay, no, keep going, keep going. This is the joy of not driving my own truck. Perfect. Graphic design.
Okay.
If you want simple place to get started with graphic design, you do not have to be a designer. Canva.com is free. They also have a paid version. If you want to do social media graphics, create a menu, whatever that is, you can even send it out to print. But honestly, if right now you want to have as little print as possible, it will save you money. I know there are restaurants out there that, one that my daughter actually works in too. So, and what they do is they have a QR code on the side of the table. Sue knows, because and it just pops up a menu that is virtual. So try and find different COVID related things, and it can all start with canva.com. And one more slide, Sue, I think it talks about local search. So yeah, go back one little click.
There we go.
There we go. And so this is important. And I will tell you, as a lover of restaurants and good food, what's the first thing that I do is I go online and I search for what restaurants are in Mississauga. What's restaurants if I'm going to a new town? What am I going to do? So make sure that you are able to be found, whether it's restaurants, whether it is now for the B2B, the wholesalers, not as critical, but even if you're doing catering or whatever that is, to have an address, a physical address for local search, please use that on Google as well as any other directory listings. So if you one more click, Sue, and
also the reviews are important too. Make sure you've got some, and they're good.
Right. Well, reviews, we could get into a whole marketing.
I think we need another workshop.
I think we need digital marketing 101 for restaurants. For restaurants. I think so too. I'm definitely coming on. So this is how you do it. Google business listing is free, so definitely do that. And reviews are obviously really important. There is a link below to show you just some more reading about how to drive foot traffic. And that is it for marketing. But also, Mississauga Made, and this is another resource that's out there, and it is considered a directory. It's local. It is part of to support the local Mississauga, mississaugamade.ca. If you are a current restaurant owner or you're getting started, please list your restaurant, and it's not just restaurant, there's more things there for artists, but check out what is available, but it is to support our local businesses. So please submit your directory listing there. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'll drop my link into the chat if you have specific digital marketing questions for your business.
Okay, step 7 is determining your business financing options. So you know, for restaurants, it is high risk, as I mentioned earlier. You can approach your local bank. They do have a Canadian small business financing program, and the Canadian government guarantees a portion. There's also wage subsidy programs if you're creating new jobs, and the Business Development Bank of Canada is also considered a high risk lender. As far as government grants, that is something you would need to search on. You will find some information online. Currently, there are not that many grants available for startups. It doesn't mean that I don't look at this every day, so this could be changing. The best thing to do here is to look at your options for financing. Personal savings is very important as well, because most banks, most financial institutions won't lend you money unless you have a portion up front, in most cases half. So financing, as I said earlier, very important for the success of any business. Ownership type, I'm not going to go through this. These are the options. And as I recommended earlier, incorporating makes sense, and you should probably talk to a lawyer. Step 9, that's the how you would do that. And you can, well, you can't do it in person right now for your master business license, but you can do most of this online. And that is the last step, is just getting ready to go. So before you leave, I'm just going to share, this is a video that we have on our website, and here is the link. It's steps to starting a business, and it's actually a lemonade stand, so it is food-based. So you can go through that. I think you can get some really helpful resources there. And speaking of resources, there are a number available to you, and networking is so important. For me, I was a Rotarian, I was a chamber member, I visited schools and did presentations. I started a youth group. So, I mean, I had to become part of my town because I didn't actually live here when I bought the pizza store. That came later, and they didn't know me. So I had to make myself known. In Mississauga, there's a Mississauga Board of Trade, local BIAs. You can join meetups. These are excellent places to find mentors. There's the Restaurant Association and the Canadian Federation of Local Business. So great opportunities there. Training. Oh my goodness, there's so much training out there. MBEC, we provide training, local colleges, webinars, innovation centers, the RIC Center. Lynda.com is available through the library with your library card, and it is free. 200,000 videos of industry professionals talking about everything, and I'm sure there's plenty on the food business. And there's also Venture Kitchens, or District Venture Kitchens, and this is a food incubator program in Toronto, specifically for food processors, and it helps them commercialize and sell their product. And that link will be shared when we send out that email. Also, coaching, one-on-one is available through MBEC for general guidance. We prefer that you have a business plan. And Laura offers digital marketing consultations, and these are all free. Business advisory services is a new service, or a service that we started offering due to COVID-19. So anyone on here who's an existing business, you have to be an existing business, this service is available to you. There is legal, accounting, sales and marketing, and business operations, and you will get a 1-hour free session with one of our coaches. This, I think, Laura, this is our recovery portal. The top requests, obviously, are online webinars, also outdoor patio information. And as Laura mentioned, Mississauga Made. Please check this out. I'm not going to go over it due to the time.
That's okay.
Laura, you want to mention this? This is the food section, right?
Yeah, so this is under the business relief portal. And then go into one more click, Sue, and I think it will highlight the industry sector. And that's where you just drop down food and beverage, and you're going to get this search with a number of supports available for the food industry. And our research team continues to update this. So if you've checked it out before, please come back and review what's new.
And Laura, you want to talk about this as well?
No, this was yours.
Oh, is this mine? Sorry. Oh, wait, yes, Ritual 1. Sorry, I was thinking it was something.
That's okay.
So if you want to place an online order with a local restaurant, bakery, grocer, or butcher, you might be happy to hear that it's a lot easier. Tourism Mississauga recently partnered with the new Ritual 1 app as part of the Mississauga Made program. The program includes a partnership with Ritual. They're a Toronto-based company, and they allow residents to order from participating restaurants and pick up their food when it's ready. Oh, sorry. Ritual One is commission-free way to accept digital orders from their website and social media accounts. So I just wanted to mention that. It's called Ritual One. Also, there is a food venture program which offers a 12-week deep dive specifically for food and beverage entrepreneurs looking to start a business. Each week, a food industry expert will discuss relevant topics from understanding current trends to recipes, nutrition, packaging, and labeling, which is a complicated process, so really important that you get this information. You will get warm introductions to the leaders who can advise and guide. They have a very small class size, allowing for individual attention as you work on your concepts. The fall program starts Thursday, September 10th, and they also have a pitch competition for $500. As I mentioned, there are co-kitchens in Mississauga. And I mentioned District Ventures Kitchen, and this is an organization that was started by Arlene Dickinson, and they provide access to shared production and packaging facilities. They have business advisory services and structured training, and all of this is to help entrepreneurs in the food processing business. Okay, went a little fast there near the end to get through. We are the central source for business information, resources, and guidance. And I know that the last part of this presentation, we had to go pretty quickly. If you don't mind staying on, I'm happy to answer questions. So, Laura, do you have any new ones that you want me to?
I don't. I've been answering a few along the way, either to Sue or myself. If there are more specifics, I'm good to stay on as well. So please drop them into the chat and we can
they asked about elaborating on mentorship. Okay. So I think what you're asking here is what that is, I guess. So when you find a mentor, like in my case, I had other business owners in the same business, and that's what's important. It doesn't have to be someone in your business, but maybe you can find someone in a similar business. And what I would do is just, take that person out for lunch once a month and bounce ideas off. And it was very important that I had that guidance, because it wasn't that I was new to the business, but I thought, doesn't it make sense that I talk to someone who's been in the business for 10 years? Because I ended up saving a lot of money, because sometimes I would have a marketing idea and I'd say, well, what do you think? And they'd say, yeah, I did that. It didn't work. And it didn't make any money. So that's the importance of mentorship. And how can I meet people and share ideas? Well, we do have a networking event coming up actually on August 31st. It's a virtual event. You can sign up online. I think we have over 100 people signed up for that event. So right now, networking is a little difficult. I know that Mississauga Board of Trade is doing virtual events as well. Anyone can attend events for Mississauga Board of Trade without being a member. Sometimes you'll pay a fee. So that's an opportunity. There's also meetup groups. Meetups are advertised online. And so I know I had a colleague who was a member of a meetup group that was all small business owners. And the whole idea for this small business owner group was that everybody would refer people. And you had to come in every week showing that you'd referred one of the people in this group to someone that you knew. So there'd be a painter, there'd be a car dealership, there was a real estate agent, right? So the one guy said, yeah, my buddy's looking for a new car, and I gave him your card. So that was the kind of thing. So that's the referral network. But they also had presentations. They had me there, and I came and talked about marketing in their businesses and actually the importance of networking. So that's how important it is.
Okay. Someone did ask about the cost of a pizza chain, but that sounds pretty specific.
Yeah, and I might not be able to give you that information because it depends on which one. Okay. And you just go to their website and they'll tell you what it is, because everyone is different. Depends if you're freestanding or whatever. You'd have to find that information out. And my information is from a long time ago, so it's probably changed quite a bit.
Okay, and you mentioned the commercial kitchens, and I know we talked about that. You mentioned
there are commercial kitchens. Yep.
How do you find them, like other ones, other than what you showed?
So I
Google
found
them.
them by Googling commercial kitchens in Mississauga. You can also try ghost kitchens. I've noticed they're now being called ghost kitchens, and I've noticed that there's a couple that have opened up. And basically what they do is they rent out the space to you and provide you with all of the equipment. It's a really good way to kind of test your idea with not spending a lot of money. I know a number of people who use ghost kitchens or commercial kitchens, and they even provide storage and freezers, but you pay a monthly fee for that.
Okay, and someone asked about creating a carton or box, and actually I'll answer that for their brand, for their product. You want to look for a graphic designer who has experience in the food industry that understands the regulations. So it will be a graphic designer typically, or a marketing agency that you'll be seeking help
Right.
from for that.
Again, a question about home kitchen, not allowed. Doesn't matter. No catering, no nothing. Not in Mississauga. There could be some municipalities that allow it under certain conditions. So when I was in Norfolk County, which is Simcoe, they didn't allow home cooking or baking or candy making in the home, but if you put in a separate kitchen in your garage and you had it inspected, it was allowed. But that's Mississauga's not the same, so a
Okay.
little stricter here. So
Yeah. Pop-up stores. What kind of licensing would you need if you're doing a pop-up store to raise funds for a cause, a business, whatever it is?
I believe it's the same. I would probably call 311 and talk to licensing. Sometimes it's like a special event license. Like it depends where you're going. So if you're part of an event, you all pay a fee to be there, a vendor fee, and then you get your own insurance. But you also have to have what we call, I believe, like a vendor license, but you would need to contact mobile licensing about that. I believe you would fall under mobile licensing for that.
Okay, and that's one of the links you're going to share, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Food, during the pandemic, food for older people or people that have an illness. Oh, okay. It looks like you're just starting from the beginning. So who asked about that specific? Just go through all the steps Sue had mentioned. And if you're starting, go through the steps, do your research. And if you can't find what you're looking for, that's where I dropped in the chat, the ask a business question is the best way other than just Sue directly, because it gives Sue some background information about your
Mm-hmm.
business and what stage you're in. So please do that if to request a consultation or more in-depth information. And that's where I would say do your homework first. Go through our website, go through all the resources Sue's going to do. And then if you can't find it or you want someone to review your business plan or even your marketing plan would be me. And then reach out to us and we can help you along the way. If it is
Yep.
just a specific question that you're stuck on, that's when I would say reach out to Sue.
Yeah. And there is an ask a question on our website. It comes directly to me. So
Yeah, I dropped it in there.
okay.
Cloud kitchens. Have you heard about those?
Are they like ghost kitchens?
Pickups by Uber Eats. I'm not sure. I've never heard of them.
I know that these ghost kitchens, they make the food, they rent the space, and Uber or whatever pickup people come and pick up the food. I've heard of that. They're not actually a restaurant. And then some people will rent a restaurant. So let's say it's fine dining or something and they only are open for dinner and you offer to rent the restaurant in the morning to make whatever. I know people do that as well. And restaurants are probably happy to get the money. So that's an option as well. But it has to be health inspected and they won't inspect a home. And you can't get insurance. So
Okay.
someone said, is it against the law? It's like a bylaw, right? Okay.
The one more, and I don't
Mhm.
know if you have an example. We were talking about business planning, and you can go out and get templates. Is there anywhere that you've seen that has food-related specific templates or example
Yeah.
that they can go
On,
to?
I didn't mention it, but the Gale Virtual Library is available to anyone with a library card. Your password is the last four digits of your phone number. And it is, if you go to Mississauga Central Library Resources, you can access that. And it's basically a directory of business plan samples, and they have restaurant businesses, they have catering, they have coffee shops, they have yogurt stands. I think they even have a food truck. And basically, these are just examples of how you would write a business plan for
Okay.
those sectors.
And I know that's on our website. We'll make sure we include that where it is. I do believe it's in market research.
Yep.
We also have small business resources and tools that is separate from the 10 steps that has a variety of resources for you as well.